2, you're on.
Hi, my name's Paul Fournier. Welcome to The Other Side. We're going to preface this show by sending our condolences to the family and fiance of Erin Rodriguez, who so tragically lost her life on Paxton Road the other day. It's an unfortunate situation, and I'm sure the entire town of Spencer, hearts go out to her. So, our condolences to her fiance and family. That being said, it's time to rock and roll with the show.
Let's do it.
So, Bob, why don't you start with what we're going to be speaking about today, and we'll go from there.
All right, well, I had an interesting day today. Spoke at length to the seniors, and I want to thank the seniors for taking the time, and especially to Pam Woodbury for taking the time with me today. They were great. I went down there. I spent about 45 minutes down there today. Went down there right at lunchtime. And I want to thank and commend John Stevens for showing up today. It was mentioned at the select board meeting on Monday night. Pam had extended an invitation to all the selectmen, and John Stevens made it a point of saying what's a good time to show up. And John did indeed show up. He spoke to a bunch of the seniors today, answered a lot of questions, and took the time to go around and with each one of them individually and spoke. They sit at all these tables, and John went around and talked to them. So that was great. I mean, it's nice to see that kind of, that when she was up there talking and saying, you need to get more involved with this, John took that to heart. So I just wanted to put a shout out to John and say thank you. And thanks to the seniors for taking the time. I know that last thing you wanted to do was hear me rambling in your ear. So I appreciate them sharing some of the information that I wanted to get firsthand from them, and not just the information from Pam. I wanted to hear it from them. So that was really good today. So what we're going to talk about is we're revisiting this because Monday night, they went over the budget, and as you know, they were going to cut more money from the senior center. The senior center is not going to be opened. Adam had found out that it was going to cost roughly $100,000 to run the senior center. Now that could be, those numbers could certainly be adjusted. I mean, they may not cost as much to heat, may not cost that much for the electric, but the bottom line, and he broke it all down for me, but the bottom line tended to be that you still have insurance to worry about. You still have costs that have to be covered. You've still got extraordinary maintenance that has to be covered. You have to carry a line item in there for that. So his numbers were not ridiculous, because when I heard $100,000, like Pam at the meeting, she was like, how can this cost us $100,000? And he broke it down really well. And to give the devil his due, even if you dropped it by, say you could drop the heat and electric down by $15,000 or even $20,000, you'd still be looking at an $80,000 nut. So what it's going to come down to, unfortunately, is going to be at this particular point where we're already $700,000. They're running that deficit. I'm pretty sure it's going to almost take the extent of an override or something really happening with the school system that's going to change, that's going to reconfigure that whole thing. And I'm not holding out a lot of hope for that.
Well, they're already paying $900 a month for the Fish and Game.
Right.
So you're saying $100,000, it's really $90,000, because
right.
Actually $89,000. If those numbers are correct, because you're going to back out that $10,800 that they're paying to the Fish and Game every year. And for numbers, we'll just call it $11,000, just to make it so it works. So now we're down to $89,000. For $89,000. You can run a pretty big building for $89,000. So I would like to see the numbers as far as the breakdown is concerned. I'm guessing the heating's probably a little high. I'm guessing the electrical's probably a little high. The heating especially, because it's going to be nowhere near what we've been spending there, because it's a brand new gas-fired system. The other boiler that we had in there was the size of a house. Well, maybe a small house, and it was oil.
It was a big unit. It was unit too.
It was old.
Because I remember seeing that when I was on the Capital Needs Committee with John Rossi
Yes.
and John Stevens.
Probably burning at somewhere around, 68, 72% efficient. The new stuff they put in, although I haven't seen it, has got to be at least 90%, I would guess.
I would love to get you in there and take a look, and I'm sure maybe the selectmen would like to know too, because it's like that's your expertise. That's what you do, is plumbing and heating. So it's like, what you did. So it's like, if anybody's going to know what those numbers are going to be, because they're looking at it. And to be fair, Adam's just trying to put together.
And I
he's
don't.
pasting this
Yeah,
together.
well, I don't. He's got to. I mean,
Yeah.
When I put the estimate together to repair Maple Street, I wasn't that far off. I said you got to carry over at least $100,000, if not more. And that was before the boiler blew. That was 2 years ago. We had figured asbestos removal and blah blah. All the whole kit and caboodle. So it was well over $100,000.
It was a chunk of change.
It was a big chunk of change. But I'd like to. I mean, if they've done the piping right, they should be able to zone just the basement. We don't even really care about the rest of the what do you got? First, second, third floor, or second and third floor. There, it's kind of a goofy setup. So the only thing really what we're trying to do is just get the basement heated. And what is 3 days a week? Is that what they mean?
4 days a week.
4 days a week. Tuesday through Thursday?
Tuesday
through Friday?
through Thursday. They're not open on Fridays.
So if it's 4 days a week, then it's going to be Monday through Thursday?
Monday. I'm sorry, Monday through Thursday.
Monday
yeah.
through Thursday. I mean, I don't know. You were at the fishing game. Is it a good situation for them? I don't.
It's not. I mean, it's compared to Maple Street. I mean, is it a good space? It's a decent space. There's no question. Fish and Game have done a wonderful job renovating the place. I was there years ago for a graduation, and it's changed drastically. They've done a really, really nice job down there. Not to take anything away from the Fish and Game, but it's not the senior center. It's not their senior center, which, and you can make that argument, well, do they really need their own senior center? Well, the point is with Maple Street, and you well know this, there's also a kitchen involved there, that they have access to the kitchen. They have the full run of this huge space. They could break the space up and do different things. They could have exercise class going on. I looked at the calendar of events for the towns, and the new leader they put in each month, they put something in, and it's the whole thing. So I looked at the senior center for Leicester. It's a very, very active center. And seniors said to me today, we'd like to see more activities. Because the senior center, people have this idea that the senior center is people go down there to play bingo and drink coffee. And that's certainly a facet of it. That's a part of it. I mean, camaraderie is important. I mean, because otherwise these seniors are going to end up housebound. And these people, it forces people to get out. The problem with the Fish and Game there's a few things that the seniors have issues with. One of them is the fact that you've got Mechanic Street. When you're driving down into Mechanic Street, especially in this weather where you got icy roads, and people, seniors are very nervous about driving anyway. On top of the fact that you're driving into this area. If anybody's ever been to the Fish and Game, it's a pretty long hill coming down. And I know that really sounds small, but it's not. To people that are elderly, that makes a huge difference. They also said to me that they would like to see it in Maple Street because it's more centrally located. For some seniors, it's within walking distance. That makes a huge difference. A lot of seniors don't drive. A lot of seniors count on the elder bus services. When they have a class going on, like where they'll be doing like a line dancing, or they're doing like an exercise class, the seniors that show up on the elder bus usually get there around 11:30, and they can't get in immediately because they don't want them in there making a lot of noise while they're running the class. So they end up having to stand outside.
Say that again. Say that again.
When seniors show up, the elder bus sometimes will show up as early as 11:30 to drop them off.
Yeah.
And when it does, they can't get into the Fish and Game because if they do, they're told they got to be quiet, and it's really hard,
It's 11:30 in the morning. Why do they have to be quiet? Be
Well,
quiet.
because they said they have a class. This is what was told to me, that they have a class going on, and so
At 11:30 in the morning, they have a class. The Fish and Game has a class.
No, not the Fish and Game. The senior center has exercise classes going on. So they want, they don't. From what the ladies told me today, they couldn't. Sometimes they can't get into the building. They don't have access to the building, so sometimes they end up having to wait outside. I mean, it's little things like that. I mean, it's.
Why should they have to wait outside?
Like I said, I'm only telling you what the folks told me. That's what I was told today. And that's the same thing I said. I said, why would you have to wait outside? And they said, well, if we come inside, we make too much noise.
Disturbing what? An exercise class?
That's the point. Like I said, they want to have their own space. They want to have. I mean, with this Maple Street section, it's a great setup. They've got extra offices. Pam had mentioned on Monday night when they go to talk, like say they're having a conference with somebody about Medicare, or they're trying to set somebody up with an agent from another,
They get some
from another
privacy.
agency. Exactly. You don't want to be, airing your laundry out in front of everybody. They don't really have that at the Fish and Game. Fish and Game is this great big room, and they got a couple small offices, and they've got bathrooms, and it's like I said, it's very nicely done. It's not to take anything away from the Fish and Game, but I understand where the seniors are coming from. And, the seniors, like Pam said, the seniors were promised this, and I understand you could promise anything, but things change. And I understand the select board is not to blame for what's going on, nor is Adam. Adam put this budget together, did the best he could.
Yes.
And I spoke at the meeting Monday night, and I asked for more advocacy for the seniors, because I don't feel that in this town we advocate for the seniors at all. We advocate for the seniors when we want the Spencer Rescue Squad override. The seniors were targeted. They did a couple of daytime things at the senior center. And I believe at Howe Village, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's what it was.
And the Spencer Rescue Squad went in there, and they targeted them, and they did it at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So,
wait a minute. I could have taken the day off to go.
yeah, well, that's.
I'm sorry. No, I got to work.
And now that's a story. That's a story for another time. I understand where you're going with that, but that's a story for another time. But the point is, when we want, and you and I've talked about this with Josh. It's like when you do the school overrides, we target the seniors. We never hesitate to ask the seniors, but when the seniors, come and they say, well, I remember this was like 2 years ago. There was a big hearing on the senior center, and the place was packed at McCord Social Hall, which is where they hold the selectmen's meetings. Place was packed, standing room only. So there was obviously an effort at that time to get something going, and they wanted an override at that time. And everybody's like, no, we can't do it right now, but we're going to do it eventually. Well, that keeps getting put off and put off and put off.
Holy smokes! This is just like it's like a Groundhog Day.
It's
The movie It's over and over. It's the same flipping story. Let's hold off. Well, let's not wait. Oh, no, yeah, you can have that. No, you can't. We got to wait. We got to move this. Now we got to do this. It's the same thing with the roads.
Oh, absolutely.
$14 million now with $21 million.
No, it started out $8 million in 2008. It was $8 million. Now it's up to $14 million. By the time we get around to it, it's probably going to be around $20 million. To do
I say
roads.
just rip them up and go back to dirt.
It's,
some horse and carriages.
At the rate we're going, it may not be that far away.
I wonder if Old Sturbridge Village can give us any pointers on how to.
It's unfortunately in this town, it's one of those situations where, for whatever reason, past leadership or past lack of leadership,
I think that's better.
There's never been anybody who ever wants to make anybody angry and say, we need to spend this money. When they did the renovation for the town hall, I remember one selectman who was dead against it. Didn't want anything, thought it was ridiculous. Why would we spend $1 million? And Tony Beauvais pushed that project through. Well, when that project came to fruition and everything started coming together and the windows went in and the place started looking, and it looks fantastic, this selectman stepped up and took all the credit. Now, that's the kind of problem we got in this town. It's like nobody wants to get that ball initially going. Like, do you really think they want to have that conversation? Let's spend $14 million on roads. Let's spend $52 million renovating Prouty.
We can't even get them to spend. We can't even spend $80,000 for the seniors.
No.
They've already carried the town. They've done their due diligence.
And I spoke to them today, and they were not happy. They feel like they're not being listened to. Like one lady said, she said, we paid our dues.
I just said
we've
that.
supported things in this town. We've done the right thing, and it's like, well, there was some comments in the paper. If you want to mention a couple of the comments in the paper, those were amazing. Kim Ring had written an article in the paper this past week about the senior center and the lack of being able to fund it, and some of the comments were mind-blowing.
This was one of them.
Pardon me.
Sandy G60. I am sorry seniors ask for and get a lot.
Nobody told the seniors.
Stop asking, okay? We've had enough. Senior housing, discount on cable TV. Let me tell you something. You don't get a discount on cable TV. My mother's 90 years old.
We got a phone call, Paul.
90 years old, and I talked to Charter. She doesn't get a discount. It is what it is.
Hi, how you doing, caller?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. What can we do for you?
Oh, I'm just calling in regards about the Spencer Senior Center and how we're just hoping sometime that we can get a real senior center and get more activities in and, more things going on in our community here like other centers have. So we just wanted to show our concerns and, know that you guys will be there trying to help us. We just wanted to call and give our input on it.
Well, I appreciate that. Is there anything? Is there anything you think that the town could be doing that they're not currently doing?
They're not currently doing. Well, yeah, you can have more activities like me. I'd like to see them have a bingo at night, and they could have like other centers. They have dinners, and they have raffles, and they have parties. And this doesn't, people come in and I can't think who they are. They do it for them, and there's just different stuff like that. That would be nice if we had that too. And they have the center open almost every day. Different stuff going on, and I know it just would be nice.
Well, we noticed. I spoke to this with a couple ladies today that I noticed the Leicester Senior Center is very, very active. In fact, when it came time to talk about not funding or decreasing funding for the library, I had heard they had actually chose to decrease the funding for the library so as not to affect the Senior Center in Leicester.
No, it's not going to.
No, well, but they felt so strongly about the senior center that they didn't want to affect the funding for the senior center. That they were willing to take money from somewhere else to keep the senior center going. And it's a very, very active senior center. I mean,
yes, I know. I go there and I play pitch on Saturday night. And I've been to me and my friend went to their Halloween party, and outsiders can go. And somebody came in and catered a meal, and they had a raffle. They had prizes for the best costume, the first 3 prizes, and they took pictures and had it in the paper. And I mean, they just go out and out for everything. They have a lot of stuff going on.
Well, we have a graphic that you're going to see coming up on TV a little bit later that actually shows the surrounding towns and what they spend on the senior center. We get like a half a dozen towns, I think.
Well, that'll be good. I'll have to watch it later on.
Yep. Don't turn off the TV. That'll be on shortly.
Okay. Well, I'm at bingo right now, but it'll probably be rerun on the TV, right?
G17.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, man. Thank you very much for calling.
I want to thank you guys for everything that you do.
Appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
You take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bingo.
It's and I think that's the common thing that the first thing people think about when they think about the senior center is it's about bingo, and it's not. It's part of that camaraderie. It's about getting people out.
It's not a senior bingo center.
No,
it's a senior center.
If it wasn't for senior centers, people wouldn't have a reason to get up and get out of the house and go do things and become active.
Listen. My mother is 90 years old. I'm not tooting my own horn. My mother's 90 years old. She lives in Oxford. My wife and I take care of her. We go pick her up. We do certain things. She doesn't go play bingo. She doesn't go, out to dinner with her friends.
She follows the Patriots. I know that.
She follows the Patriots. Yes, she's a big Patriots fan.
Jeez.
She's a big Bruins fan too. But if I didn't live around here, there wouldn't be any support for her socially. She lives in the senior housing, on the second floor of a senior housing. So at the age of 90, it's a little difficult for her to get down the stairs, though she still does. She still goes down. But she is lucky to have us here. I have some other relatives that live around here that also interact with her, but she's lucky to have us here. I mean, we bring her over the house once or twice a week. If there's something going on, a family party or something, we'll pick her up. I have older sons. One lives in Holden. The other one lives a little farther away, over an hour away. But we try to grab her. But she has that.
Not everybody does. Yeah.
Not everybody does. Some of these seniors don't. And the only thing that they may have is other interaction at the senior center with other seniors. They've done their they've paid their debt. They've done their due diligence, and now they've raised families. They've carried the town through for years, and now it's time to pay them back by having something that they can go to and enjoy.
Something that's theirs.
And take the reins off. Let them have some fun. I mean, we're not talking 100,000 seniors in this town.
No, we're talking. I believe Pam said there was 2,877 seniors, and I was astounded, and so were the seniors when she said that.
And I am sure that some of them don't have to go to the center. They probably. My wife's grandmother, bless her heart, lives at Howe Village. She goes to some of the things. She still drives, although she won't drive past dusk. You know, it's got to be the sun
No,
has to
I
come
get
up.
that.
You know, but as far as some of the other stuff is concerned, they've paid their dues. Let's give them some. Let's let them have some fun.
And when we're talking about the senior center, it's not just about the senior center. It's also about what the senior center provides in terms of support and just compassionate response. And one of those things that I was very disturbed by was there was a $15,000 line item for what they call the senior tax abatement program. And what seniors get a chance to do is seniors get to work, and that they work. I think they get $8 an hour is how they base it, and they get up to $1,000 off on the taxes. Now, on the taxes as far as for their property taxes. Now, that may not sound like a lot of money, but as one senior put it to me today, she said, some of us still own our homes. Not every senior lives in a senior center. I know when I get to that age, I'm going to want to stay in my home for as long as possible. There's no question. And the tax abatement program, they took out $10 of the $15,000 to run that program, and Pam took Adam Gaudette to task on it. And she took Donnie Berthium to task on it and said, Mr. Berthium, you promised me this past May at the town meeting that we were going to get more money invested in the senior center. And Adam's like, well, we had to make the cuts. We had to do what we had to do. And I understand that. But at the end of the day, this hurts the people that are the least likely to be able to help pay for this because, as Pam put it, these people don't work. They don't have the option to go out and work. She had a lady today, she was telling me she owes like $642 for her heating bill. She can get fuel assistance, but fuel assistance shuts off in April. What do you do from then to then? What about seniors that are home and they're paying? Because it's a lot different than when my folks were on Social Security. And Medicare, they didn't have to pay $365 out of their own pocket for supplemental Medicare to pay for for prescriptions. Some of these prescriptions cost hundreds of dollars. I know seniors that are taking them every other day, that are skipping meals. It's like if you want to talk about people hanging on by their fingernails, it would have to be a large portion. And I'm not saying it's a large portion everywhere, but I'm saying the seniors would have to be the ones hurt most by all of this.
Then why are they the first ones to get targeted?
Because they're easy.
Between seniors and education, those are the two that get targeted constantly when it comes time for budget times.
They're easy to target because, number one, the seniors don't complain. If they do, they'll complain to Pam because they trust Pam. This is not a generation of people who were used to having things handed to them or ever asked for anything. There's a lot of pride there. And I know there's situations where I know my father wouldn't take anything if you gave it to him because he didn't work for it. My dad just had that hard-headed Irish work ethic. That's how this goes. And there's a lot of these seniors of that World War II generation and Korean generation where it's like you don't ask for something. So to ask for something, it's almost demeaning for some of these folks. So it's supposed to be our job, and it's supposed to be the selectmen's job to advocate for them. And I brought that up Monday night when I got up there Monday night at Citizen Input, and I called them on the carpet about it. It's like, you guys can advocate for Spencer Rescue Squad. Nobody's got a problem with that. But when it comes time to advocating for the seniors, it's like, well, we just don't have the money. And like I told those seniors at the senior center today.
Well, why are we discussing $25,000 worth of sand?
That brings up another good point.
Huh?
I mean,
instead of putting $25,000 worth of sand, why don't you let people pay $2 a 5-gallon bucket?
Well, let me backtrack. When I was at the meeting Monday night, I got up at Citizen Input. I said what I had to say. I got done talking, and then the most astounding thing happened after they just get through talking. Adam and I are going back and forth, and he's talking to me, and he's explaining how they came about these cuts. Then the selectmen vote had a line item that said they were basically going to vote on whether or not to give away free sand and salt to the community. Now, I had no idea that big pile of sand and mixed salt down by Highway Barn costs so much money. It's 20. They said they figured and Steve and Tyler said it works out to about $26,000. Now we're in the middle.
I had no idea. I've gone down there.
I've never gone down.
I have. Unfortunately, my driveway, the way the sun comes up in the wintertime, I don't get a lot of sun on my driveway.
At all.
But certainly, if I went there and paid $5 a bucket or $3 a bucket or whatever for 5 gallons, I only need 2 5-gallon pails, but $26,000 for sand and salt?
Well, the irony of this was you're talking about budget cuts, and Gary Woodbury had a good point. Gary got up and he said, listen, I just don't think this is, something to the effect of it wasn't a responsible thing to do. And Donnie Berthium called him out on it immediately. Well, what would you spend the money on? And Gary said, we'd put it back in the book. Well, what would you spend the money on? Well, what do you think we'd spend the money on, Donnie? Maybe we'd spend the money. Maybe we'd put $10,000 back into here. Maybe we'd put the overtime back in for the highway department. Highway department now doesn't have any overtime. Now we went from, and in fact, they cut. The only other major cut in the budget was $51,000 because they're not going to rehire. They're not going to rehire somebody to fill a position.
Why would he put Gary on the spot like that? He knows his wife is the head of the seniors.
I can't answer that.
Well, I would. I'll tell him. Throw $10,000 back to the seniors. How's that? Is that easy?
That was easy. That was
throw $10,000 back to the seniors. It's not gonna.
It's not hard.
It's not gonna wreck anybody.
Well,
you've got more people using sand than you have seniors using sand.
The amazing thing was as the meeting went on, they spent a good 25 minutes talking about this. And Pam was on the agenda, which I had no idea. I mean, I try to go to all the selectmen's meetings, and Pam was on the agenda. Well, Pam got up there and was absolutely furious, as she should have been. She is an advocate. Her job description is to advocate for seniors. And boy, she certainly did. If you get the chance, watch the Monday night selectmen meeting and watch Pam Woodbury. And you got to be proud of somebody that can put that kind of energy and that kind of effort into a job that is certainly a thankless job.
Well, you know what? This is.
Well, that ties in.
Let me go back. Let me go back to some of the comments on the Telegram and Gazette. This I find hysterical. So this guy, whoever this person is, really though, seniors would not feel so helpless if they spent some time and effort helping themselves, and would make them feel better about themselves, like they are not a burden. How about if you crochet or knit items and sell at craft fairs, do bake sales? I'm like, are you kidding me?
I couldn't. When I read that, I was astounded. And that was very similar of some of the other comments that were on there. Some of the comments were scathing, and I was like, are you kidding me?
Can you imagine the conversation between a couple of seniors? Now they're sitting down having coffee. Hey, Sally, what are you doing today? Well, I figured I'd go bake myself some pies, and I'm gonna bring them down to the craft fair and see if I can get $3.
I know, it's like you must be. It's like you must. And I understand everybody has. Don't get me wrong. Everybody has a right to their opinion, and I'll fight for your right to that opinion. But I don't know what to say to that. I mean,
come on.
There was not. Well, read the other one that was on there. That was like that. There was like three or four that were very.
This one's about sand and salt. Let's see. I am sorry to ask for and get a lot. Senior housing, discount on cable TV, discount at restaurants, discount.
I can't wait to be a senior now.
Discounts at grocery stores, on and on. Sand and salt are needed to keep roads, driveways, and sidewalks clear in the winter. If not, the seniors would all be up in arms if they fell. How many seniors do you see walking down the street?
I'm amazed. It's the misconception of the seniors in this town.
It says, I at times wonder who is the entitlement generation.
How do you even say something like that?
I don't know. Listen, you guys aren't allowed out of wintertime. That's it. No seniors out.
Just to kind of give you to kind of back that up, Aaron, can you and Josh throw up the graphic we've got for this is how we compare to other communities. This kind of gives you an idea, okay, where we stand with other communities. This was done a couple of years ago, obviously, because the population of seniors now is risen quite a bit. But you can see the disparity in what people are spending. Oxford, $109,000. Northbridge, $114,000. Millbury, $117,000. West Brookfield, which has 903 seniors, spending $77,101. Leicester, spending $75,000. It's a question of, are you willing to fund to help the people that you are constantly asking for help? I guess that's really what it comes down to. And going back to this meeting Monday night, I was disturbed beyond belief with some of the things that one of the selectmen was saying. Pam called Mr. Berthium out on this, and Donnie's reply to her was, "We have had hearings. Don't tell me we don't do anything for the seniors." Well, great. Why don't we have a hearing? We can have a hearing. We'll invite the seniors and we'll talk about this, and we won't do anything about it, but we'll talk about it. Talking about it doesn't get it done. I'm sorry. You know, and we've had hearings. We've had a couple of hearings. Donnie's done walkthroughs. He also said that he did the work at the Spencer Fishing Game, and I'm sure the seniors appreciate that, and I know Pam appreciates it. He designed some of the stuff down there for them and did it for free, and I appreciate that, and I'm sure they do too. But Donnie asks Pam during the course of the conversation, Donnie says, how many hours did we give you this year, and how much do those benefits cost? Now, I can only guess where he might have been going with that comment.
Wait a minute. Say that. Read that again.
He said, Donnie asks, how many hours did we give you this year? And I took this directly off. I watched the meeting 4 times. And how much do these benefits cost? Now, he looked at Adam, and Adam proceeded to tell him.
How many hours?
You
counting the hours?
Adam proceeded to tell him, I don't know. We got a call coming in. I don't know what he was insinuating,
I hope they're cooking pies or knitting something.
I was kind of
I'll be willing to buy it.
Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling. What can we do for you?
Hi, I'm a senior living in Spencer, and my main concern is that Maple Street School is not going to be available to us. It's going to be sold. As Mr. Gaudette has indicated, he would like to sell it rather than give it to the seniors. Are they ever going to give us a place to call our own? We've been moved from Dr. Macklin's office to the depot and now the Fish and Game Club. I mean, it's about time we got someplace to call our own.
Oh, I agree.
I haven't heard anything about that being sold.
That's the first I've heard that.
But we'll check. We'll call Mr. Gaudette and check on that. But I don't.
Okay.
I don't think there was ever any intention of that being sold.
I spoke to Adam Gaudette today, ma'am.
Another empty building in Spencer that was not being used.
No, I agree 100%. And when I spoke to Adam today, for like 20 minutes. So I went in because I told him, I said, I'm going down to talk to the seniors. I want to get your take on how I'm sorry, I got a cold, folks, so I apologize.
Okay.
And he said what he was looking at, and I trust Adam, and I think Adam's one of the best managers. We've had 3 managers that I know of, and Adam by far and away is the best. And Adam said to me, had it been up to me, my intention was all along to fund the senior center, and I believe that. I believe that, ma'am. I don't think he's trying to mislead anybody here. Adam's a pretty straight shooter.
And Mr. Smith also mentioned the fact that he would like to see the building sold rather than have it kept empty.
Who mentioned that, ma'am?
The other selectman, John.
Oh, John Stevens?
Stevens, right. He said he did not want another empty building standing.
That I couldn't speak to.
In town.
You know what? I proposed that building being closed 2 years ago. My kids went to school there, and it was awful. I wanted that place closed 2 years ago and given over to the seniors back then. But obviously
It's about time they did something for the seniors and give us a permanent home. The other towns in the area have them.
Correct.
They have less seniors than we do.
I agree 100%, and I know from talking to Adam, there was no doubt about it. I'd be very surprised if that was any way he was, because I haven't heard that at all.
We're going to end up having Mr. Gaudette on the show at some point in time. I talked to him tonight, and he's willing to come on. So we're going to try and put a little more pressure on the powers that be, and try and get something done or an answer for you guys as far as.
Appreciate the support we got Monday night from Mr. Serba.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Take care, ma'am.
Too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I can't. That was the kind of frustration I was hearing today. And like I said, the what went on at that meeting Monday night just kind of blew me away. I was very surprised.
Well, listen, I don't think any of the seniors are looking for 100% handout. Okay, I don't think they're looking for stuff to be served on a golden platter or be have somebody there with one of those grape leaves.
Absolutely not.
But I think they deserve their own place. I think they deserve some place to go. And yeah, if you have to give up the $25,000 worth of sand, you give up the $25,000 worth of sand, and you have people pay $2 a bag. How many people do you think go down there and pay $2 for 5 gallon pail of sand? I'd do it. $25,000 a year in sand and
Well,
salt?
that was the argument that they were having, and they were going back and forth, and you know, a couple of the selectmen were very adamant that, you know, in fact, even John Stevens said, you know, this is something I would like to see keep happening. There's a lot of things I'd like to see happening, and I'm not saying John's wrong. I'm just saying I have a very serious disagreement with giving away free stuff when we're in the middle of what is a very serious fiscal crisis,
Listen,
and we're not done.
I'd like to see new books for my kids in school.
Excuse me.
And that's not going to happen.
I get it. It's
Okay,
you
but
know,
to sit there for 25 minutes and argue over $25,000 worth of sand
it was
is ridiculous.
It was crazy. And the funny part was, they just got done talking about, we can't afford this, we can't do this, we can't, you know, we'd love to give the tax abatement back to the seniors, but we can't. We got to. And then they're giving away $25,000 of a product. I'm like, on what planet does this make a lot of sense to somebody? And I understand there are people. There was Donnie Nussey got up and he spoke, and he's a citizen in town, and he spoke that, you know, that he'd like to see this continue, and I get it. I get why everybody wants it.
Yeah. I'd like to see it continue too.
I can't argue.
But I don't have a problem.
But
I don't have a problem going down there and paying $2 for 5 gallons worth of sand.
It's
And
like,
I can see the argument there. Well, who's going to collect the money? Well, listen, you play golf?
Oh yeah, we do.
I play golf,
badly.
but it's an honor system, right?
Yeah, it's how we go. You know, it's how
Okay,
we
you
roll.
go up to the town hall, you give them $10 for the year, and say, "Hey, I'm going to get five buckets of sand for the year," something like that. Who really cares?
You just know, it's not gonna. It's never gonna work out the way you want it to, because it's like you got people that are just working on a different wavelength.
Well, then you say the sand is available. Listen, we're going to have the town barn open 5 to 8 on Wednesdays. Or if you know there's a storm coming 2 days
Well,
before.
they want to put it up at the transfer station.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
Is what they wanted to do, because they
With
wanted
the
to
green
have
trash
they wanted to
bags,
have
you're
more-
going to use those too?
They wanted to have more control, so they wanted to put up. And I understood that. I
nice.
understood why
So
they were
who's
doing
going to pay
it.
for the fuel to bring it up there?
It's not a great system. I agree. I mean, you're arguing, you're preaching to the
Why don't you
choir
leave it at
here.
the
It's like-
DPW yard, and when you know that there's going to be a storm, you open up for 4 hours or 5 hours, or you open up just for the day or whatever. People come in, they grab some buckets, and they leave. You give them $2 a bucket, $3 a bucket. I don't know.
I just don't
How many
understand why
buckets?
you'd even have it unless.
How many
unless you're
yards
gonna
is
be charged.
$26,000, $25,000?
No, I get it.
It's
I get it.
ridiculous. This whole town's like this. This is exactly why we're in the situation that we're in.
Well, because part of the problem is we've gone for so long with leadership, with past leadership.
It's lack of leadership. It's not leadership. It's lack of leadership.
Past leadership has always said it's okay to have a low tax rate. We need to keep a low tax rate. We've always kept. It's almost like this is what you expect from this town. It's like, you know, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's not helping us now. We got things that are falling down, that are breaking down. Look at I've mentioned this before. You want to get the perfect analogy. Look at the front of our building. We got this big, beautiful building. It's been all landscaped and everything's done. And you've got one light missing and one light that's still there that looks like hell. Now, either take it down and put something else up, or just be done with it. But no, we're going to leave it there until that falls apart, because that's what we do in this town. We wait until it breaks so badly that we don't have the choice to fix anything. And that's part of a whole culture of a lack of leadership, and people saying, and the other side of this is the selectman. We got a call, Josh? All right, let's take this real quick. Good evening. Welcome to the other side.
Good evening. I'm a senior in the town of Spencer, and I have lived here for 38 years and have volunteered for some time with the Council on Aging and have attended a lot of conferences along with Mrs. Woodbury. And I just want to, first of all, thank you both for really, really your honest conversation tonight about the state of this town and the way that the seniors are neglected. It's just a travesty to me. And it just seems as though that they are not a priority at all. And no matter how many meetings that I have gone to, I have seen selectmen talking about this, and they talk a good talk, but nothing ever comes of it. It's like we live in a town that time forgot. And it's just really, it has been a very enlightening experience for me since I have volunteered and have talked to other Council on Aging directors in other towns. And now tonight, looking at the stats that you've shown, which I have seen in the past, just really, really shows just how far behind that we are lacking when it comes to our senior population. And I just want to thank the two of you for being so honest about this and for saying things that we have said at past meetings that go absolutely nowhere. You know, it's very difficult for seniors. They say, bring the seniors in. Well, they want to listen. Well, they listen, but they don't do a thing. Nothing changes. And I would really like to see the two of you just continue this type of conversation, and Mr. Serber especially going in to talk to the seniors and to addressing their needs and listening to them. That right there is a big step forward. But we need people like you to help advocate for us and for the senior population, because they just do not seem interested in helping. So kudos to the both of you, and it's very interesting listening to you. Thank you.
Thank you for the call, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
She brings up a great point, and I said something. I said something very similar to the seniors this afternoon. I told them, I said, there's 2,800 of you in this district. You are
That's a pretty loud voice.
voting block.
That's a huge.
Now, they always use, when they did the Spencer Rescue Squad override, like I said, they foisted this on the seniors. Nobody bothered to say, oh, yeah, by the way, we also have Vital Ambulance Service that's willing to come in for 3 years for
free.
$0. Oh, but they're gonna put a ambulance in the barn. Oh God, we can't have that, you know. And it's like, I'm like, are you serious? But nobody told the seniors that side of the story. Or if they did, it was just, oh, well, they're just on Mr. Berthium's show. Well, they're just basically, Gary Suda put it, they're just basically they're very good at transport, but they're not as good as we are. It's like, please, now we've got a backup system. I don't even want to go there because I'm just going to get angry.
That's a whole
but
nother
I'm getting
story.
off on a tangent
That's
here.
a whole
But
nother
the
story.
point is,
But it's really not. It's all intertwined.
well, it is, but the point is, I said to the seniors, and you and I talked about this before the show, you're your own voting block here.
It's 20
I told seniors at this meeting, you guys have more power than you could
They have-
possibly
they have
realize.
no idea.
You talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your neighbors, talk to anybody you can go, and you know, I said, show up at a select board meeting. I said, when people show up, when we did the sign bylaw and they gave us $300 a day fine if we didn't take our signs down, I got every business in town to show up, and 60 businesses showed up and packed that room. And then we got a moratorium the same night. They put a moratorium on the sign bylaw. There's strength in numbers. Folks, I'm going to say this to you right now. Call your friends, call your neighbors, call your family, call anybody who's willing to help you and start. I know a lot of you folks can't show up to meetings because a lot of folks can't drive at night. Call your selectman. If you have a computer, email your selectman. Send them a letter. Call them on the phone. Everybody's number is in the phone book. John Stevens, Anthony Pepe, Bo Fritz, Gary Woodbury, Donnie Berthium. Call them. Call Adam Gaudet at the town hall. Tell them how you feel. We can advocate for you. Paul, Josh, all of us can advocate for you. You have to advocate for yourself also. I can't say enough about that. It's time to make your voice heard. What do you got, Josh?
All right. So, I got a couple of questions here.
Sure.
What exactly is the town going to save by not opening the senior center and by not doing the tax abatement program? What is the number?
Well, it's theoretically about $100,000 by not opening the senior center now.
$10,000 to not do the tax abatement program.
Is that net savings or is that just
Some of it's a shot in the dark.
okay?
You know, you have extraordinary or ordinary maintenance. You have fuel costs, electrical. But the thing is, if that new heating system was set up properly, it should be a zone system. So the only thing you're really going to be heating is the basement. Now the basement, I would say probably 60% of that, maybe 70% of that basement is actually underground. So there's very, very little heat loss. So I can't see that heating system running really very much at all. Without having the numbers in front of me, BTU loads and stuff like that, I can't put a solid number to it.
Well, I guess I'm looking at this from the perspective of what we went through on the school committee when we did the budget this last year. We kept making cuts. We kept coming up with numbers. People kept saying to us, well, show us. All right, so these guys went and they cut all of this money for the seniors, but have they shown us what the cuts would look like if they took it out of other services? Have they shown all of the options? I guess because that's the other side of this argument is, well, what else do you cut? So show us what else you cut.
Well,
show
you-
us what else it looks like, and don't make it look like you're just grabbing at low-hanging fruit, because low-hanging fruit is seniors and young people. You go after the education, the young people, and you go after the elderly.
Well,
and
that-
that's what they're doing.
Well, that's par for the course throughout the United States. Federal government, state government, doesn't really matter. Those are the first two things that they go after. And why is that? Because they know the people will pony up for the education and they'll pony up to protect their parents.
Absolutely.
You know, instead of just being honest and telling the truth, forget about the sand. It's $25,000. Forget
It's
about it.
$25,000, and it's a big chunk of what you're taking from the seniors.
Correct.
You know, you could dump that in, and I find it hard to believe.
How many? Let's put it this way: how many of those seniors use that sand?
Right.
Oh, well, that was, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that brought up, and Donnie Berthium said, and this was remarkable. All I can say is please watch the Monday night select board meeting. It was a beauty. Donnie said, looks at Pam and goes, I'll bet you 90% of the seniors are coming for sand. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're probably making a trail all the way down there, just
It's a bunch
grabbing
of
the
ants.
sand and
It's
taking
like
off.
it's like an
hey,
ant.
it's free. It's like, well, let's
it's-
go.
it's-
We take us down to the senior center. Oh, wait a minute, we don't have a senior center. That's right. It's like, I mean, I'm looking at Donnie and I'm like, are you serious? Are you really? And then Bo stepped in and says it's more like 50, maybe 40%.
I don't even think it's that many.
I mean, how do you make that kind of assumption? I'm just, well, like some of the,
I don't know.
Some of the cuts they made, they took 14,000 out of the transfer station. They took 1,088 out of public health and human services. They took 30,240 out of the council on aging. The highway department was the largest. That was 51.5 because they didn't renew a position. Utilities and facilities lost 1,700. Office of Development and Services lost 5,200. Fire department lost 5,000. You get the idea. They were the second largest. The largest being the highway department because they didn't have to. They really should have funded
The
that
second
position,
largest
but they
that asked
can't.
for the least.
And well,
they're one of the smallest budgets.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
the
just
senior,
like-
the budget for the
and
seniors is one of the
therein lies
smallest.
the rub, Josh. I mean,
But
that's
yeah,
what drives the three of us nuts.
They're
you know?
making the largest contribution here, and I think what really concerns me is, I know what the senior center, I don't know, but I hope that it's going to eventually get opened. I'm worried about this tax abatement program. People own houses, they need to pay their taxes. This is a good program to keep people in their houses, to keep elderly people in their houses, and that program has been cut. You said it was a $15,000 program being cut $10,000. So it's
2/3 of
basically
it was gutted.
wiped out. So I understand the senior center. I want to see these people get the senior center. I think it's very important, and I think they can do a lot with it. They can do a lot of community
can.
stuff with it. But I'm also worried about them losing their houses. There's not a ton of them that are in a situation where they own their houses and are getting by. They're on a fixed incomes. You had some really nasty comments there on the computer, and what
That was just
these
a couple
people
of them,
didn't
Josh.
say was, well, yeah, they might get a few discounts here and there, but it's a huge cut to their pay. These
yeah, but
people
they-
are living on a fixed income.
They've earned it. They've carried their load.
Exactly.
Okay? If they get 10% off at Dunkin' Donuts, who cares? CVS, Tuesdays only, 15%.
Well, if you read that one comment, it's like, God, I can't wait to go on Medicare. This is great.
I mean,
it's
are you
like,
kidding
are you
me?
serious?
I mean, really, why is it such a big deal that if they go to the early bird special at the black and white and they save 10%?
I think the thing that most irritated me was Donnie's attitude. Certainly left me more than a little dismayed. I was just like, seriously? It's like, and he looks at all right, sure. We got a call from Pam. I just want to finish this thought. The selectmen need to advocate for the seniors.
Get rid of the sand, okay? It's $25,000. Get rid of the sand. Make people pay for it.
All right, we're gonna go to Pam. We got Pam Woodbury on the line. Pam, how you doing?
Hi, Bob. It's nice to hear your voice. I wanted to know if you guys had any questions that I could answer.
Yeah, I think I have one. I mean, we've heard from the seniors, and I think people are getting the impression that the senior center is nothing but about bingo and other things. Could you kind of illuminate us on what actually happens down the senior center besides exercise classes and camaraderie and whatnot?
Oh, sure. Anytime anybody has an issue and you're a senior citizen, you can call my office, come in. And what I do is I try to counsel you on different aspects, such as maybe Medicare or Social Security if you're starting to get on Social Security. I'm a mandated elder abuse reporter, so if I suspect that a senior citizen is abused or maybe self-neglect, I have to get in touch with Tri-Valley, which is the
talked about
area
that the first
agency
show.
on
Oh, that's
aging.
right, that's
So
right.
what happens is they then will go out and investigate. We have a SHINE program, which is a counselor that I schedule who will come in and talk about all the different available insurance supplemental plans for seniors. I help them with food stamps. I help them get Mass Health if they have that. I just had a woman that was overwhelmed with her debt. I set her up with the agency that's going to come in and probably help her dissolve all that debt that she has. Any kind of, what we basically do is we replace the welfare office that used to be on the local level in town.
It's true.
And we handle all that. We're the first access point. Then when we can't help anymore, I'm able to refer out to visiting nurse or assisted living or maybe Tri-Valley, Central Mass Agency on Aging. I work very closely with the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in Boston, Massachusetts Councils on Aging, that kind of thing. So we basically have a mantra to keep seniors alive as long as we can, functional, mobility-wise, not falling, in their homes, and having them enjoy a certain aspect of life and a quality of life.
Hey, Pam, Paul here. How long have you been involved with the seniors?
Excuse me.
Well, I was on the Council on Aging, I believe in 2000, I think it was 2002, but I'm not sure. And I've been the actual director now for 10 years.
And how have you seen the budget?
Also a little bit further, because in the network itself, I'm a regional representative of Massachusetts Councils on Aging, and I'm also the co-chair of the executive board of the Elder Bus.
Jeez.
Okay, in the years that you've been involved, have you seen the budget for the seniors stay the same or go up or go down?
Basically, it's gone up very slowly. It goes up very incrementally. Like
Thank you.
I get about a 50-cent an hour raise a year. So
How many hours do you put in a week?
up until July, I put in 19 and a half. And in July, my hours were increased to 24.
But
So
how many
I worked
how many real hours do you
years with no benefits in this town.
how many real hours do you put in?
Does that count?
Like that
Giving
laugh.
counseling in the store when I'm grocery shopping?
Well, I mean, you don't. I'm sure you don't shut the clock off at night. I'm sure if somebody calls you, you don't say, "I can't talk to you because I'm not on the clock."
No, you can't do that.
Okay.
When you do this kind of a job,
So it's 40 hours then, at least.
well, you're never off the clock, really, because
It's not that kind of a job.
people are always asking questions.
Can you throw that graphic back up?
They had it up. They had it up a couple.
Did they? Can you throw
Pam,
that?
the seniors are talking about wanting a senior center. What do you think is beyond the camaraderie? Obviously, being a key point of access is important. Is there any kind of insight you can offer to folks as to why? Because people are going to say, well, why should we pay for a senior center? Why should we invest in a senior center? What would you say to that?
Well, basically, you want to invest in your senior center because even though it's not the cornerstone in Spencer, in most communities, the senior center is a very important place. You know, in other communities, the fire departments, the police departments, the select board, the town administrator, they're all very, very involved with the senior center because, I'd like to think it's more than the fact that these seniors are a voting bloc, but seniors are living longer. My exercise classes aren't just so that they get exercise. My exercise classes are based on the fact that seniors have an issue with falling.
And if they have exercise classes, their mobility increases. They don't fall as much. And and another thing with it is, in order for people to come to you with their problems, they need to be able to trust who you are and realize that you're going to take good care of them. So when somebody walks through my senior center doors and becomes one of my seniors, it's almost like they're my parent. Or if they're not even that old, then they're my contemporary friend. This is a place where they can go and get help. And we don't have an outreach worker in town, which most towns have an outreach worker where they can call the seniors, go visit the seniors, make sure they're living in a safe environment. So when I do these programs at the senior center, I get a basic eyeful. I can look at them and tell you, and tell if they need help. And I have in the past called a child and said, I think you need to go visit your mother. There's an issue there.
Well, I got to tell you, Pam, we're getting low on time here. I definitely appreciate the fact that you called in, and I got an eyeful and an earful today. And again,
I can't thank you enough, Bob.
Well, thank you for taking the time, and thanks to the seniors for taking the time. And like I said, shout out to John Stevens for showing up today and doing that. And Pam, thanks for doing the job that you do. I don't think
Bob,
I don't think we say that enough.
Yeah, a couple more years, Bobby will be right there anyway.
I'm going to be knocking on your door looking for the line dancing class, Pam.
Oh, good. I'll put you right in.
All right, thanks a lot,
He wants to
Pam.
lead it. Never mind, put him in. He wants to lead it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Well, what's funny is I was looking at the budgets from the towns. Okay, so I looked at Oxford, and I divided what their budget was by how many people they have. Mm-hmm. They spend about $55 per senior. Ours is 69 cents.
It's
Can you put that graphic up there real quick again one more time, please? So look at Oxford. Now this is obviously not the
right.
So 1,969 seniors, and they spend $109,000. Right, comes out to about $55 per senior. We have 1,960. Oh, they got 9 more. Must be those other 9. They're more expensive. And we spend 13 at this point in time. It was 13,650. It comes out to 69 cents per senior.
Is that amazing?
69 cents.
But yet people
You
feel
can't even- the only
people
place you
feel they
can-
can justify it. I mean, you saw the comments in the paper.
That's coffee. That's not even coffee at Cumberland Farms. That's $1.05.
Well, listen, we got a couple minutes left. Josh, can you give us a real quick update on the school committee meeting that went on Tuesday night?
All right, I'm going to give you the real quick update because we don't have a lot of time left. So we had a school committee meeting. We went over some budget reductions. The budget reductions that we made are not final reductions because the commissioner has the final say. We found, or they found, a little bit of money where they could make some reductions. A lot of it was supplies, a little bit in the circuit breaker, which is for high cost sped-related items, a little bit of money in unemployment, some salary adjustments, a lot of little stuff, nothing more than $100,000 per line item. We voted on it and basically are sending it to the commissioner for his final approval. Other things that were on the agenda, we have the DSAC report that is going to be presented in January. This report's important. They did a study. The DSAC came in. They did their study. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that it's going to be a great outcome. I mean, it'll be good for the school district. The report's going to be, basically, you're doing a lot of things wrong. It's not going to be pleasant to sit through.
Bad school committee.
Your MCAS scores suck and you suck, basically, is what they're going to say to us.
Well.
But which, you know what?
Let's not sugarcoat that.
It's good it needs to be said, and we need to deal with it. We had a little bit of community input. John Stevens spoke at it. I did want to mention this. I only have a few seconds left. I agreed with the point he was getting at. He was making a challenge to the parents to send their kids to school ready to learn. How he did it, I thought, was a really poor delivery. I think it's important for parents to manage their kids' education and make sure that it's happening correctly and effectively. But I don't think it's their job to provide the books and the supplies, and do the other portion of the job, which is the school's job. So I wanted to mention that.
Well, we're going to talk about this some more.
There'll be more to talk about soon. But we're running out of time here, so I'm gonna turn it back over to you guys and let you guys close the show. So.
All right. We just want to update everybody. How much time do we have? We have the Spencer Christmas Parade of Lights, Saturday, December 14th at 7 o'clock. The snow date is Sunday, December 15th at 7 o'clock. But the way the weather forecast looks, it looks like it's going to be Saturday.
It's going to snow. All right, so folks, we've got to close out the show. Paul, Josh, Aaron, thank you. And
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for watching.
you.
We'll see you later.